Hey guys.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Barricade. I'm Laura.
And I'm Maddie.
And today's episode is a really fun one.
It is a really, really fun one. Who are we talking to, Laura?
We talked. You're about to listen to the conversation that we had with Derek Sanders.
From Mayday Parade.
The one.
Yes. Which is a really, really cool episode for us because if you are a frequent listener and...
I thought you were about to say if you're a freak.
If you're a freak and pay attention.
Yes.
We have had Alex Garcia from Mayday Parade on the podcast before. So we've gotten to talk to a portion of the band already.
We're collecting them like infinity stones.
We really are. We'll collect them all one day.
Yeah. Brooks is next.
Yes. But the interview with Alex was when they were supposed to play Sad Summer in New Jersey.
It's a really good episode regardless.
It's a great episode.
Yeah.
So you should listen to that if you haven't already. But so it was really cool to get to kind of revisit the Mayday Parade camp and talk to Derek this time around.
Get some updates on the band.
Yes, because this is a big year to be a Mayday Parade fan.
We say that, I think, a couple of times in the interview.
Yes.
But it's so true.
It's such a good year.
They have so much happening. And we've been in on some things, like the new album. It's a 3-part album. Mm-hmm. We talk a little bit about it in this episode, but oh my gosh. Yep. It's a great year to be a Mayday Parade fan.
It really is. And this week in particularly, when the podcast episode comes out,
you're so right.
Album release week. So part 1 of their 3-part album comes out this week.
We're so excited for you guys to listen to it.
Yes.
We're so excited to hear it live out for the first time too. Yeah. And they have a lot happening.
Yeah. And we obviously talked about all of it in the episode. Derek kind of breaks down the album, the tour. We questioned him as to why a 3-part album. That was our burning question of the interview, which he answers beautifully.
Sweet
is the album that comes out this week. And I don't think they've released the names of the other 2, right?
They have not.
Okay,
no.
Great. So we get Sweet, which is part 1 of a 3-part album. They are gearing up to go on tour.
I was about to say, we also get a tour.
Yeah, a tour, a 20 years of Mayday Parade tour, which is amazing. We talk a lot about that, reminisce on the start of Mayday Parade.
Talk about how old we all feel. Saying 20 years of the band is now going on tour. It's a good time.
So wild.
Yeah.
It's such a good conversation. We had so much fun. Derek was so sweet, shared a lot of really fun stories with us.
Yeah.
Told us a lot of things that Mayday Parade fans can be looking forward to this year. And it's a great conversation.
It is. So we'll have a little bit to say after, but here is the episode. Here's our conversation with Derek. All right.
Want to dive on in?
Yeah, I guess so. So we talked to Alex during Sad Summer.
Yeah.
And so we kind of got his little point of view on the early stages and everything like that. And so it was a big summer, I feel like, for you guys, kind of diving back into everything. And you guys now have this new tour coming up, which 20 years of Mayday Parade is insane for me, and I bet it's only insane for you guys too.
Yes.
So a little bit before that, we're just kind of wanting to learn a little bit more about your early taste when the bands were, well, he mentioned that there were 2 bands that formed into one, and that was Mayday Parade. Is that how you would kind of describe it too?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously it depends on like how far back you want to go. But we all sort of grew up playing music together, playing in different bands together. And it was always like, the goal was to find the other people, at least for me, when I was in middle school and high school and playing music, it was always trying to like find friends that like cared about this and wanted to do this as much as I did. And, I met Brooks in middle school and he was kind of my partner. And like we were in so many different bands together and always kind of had the same struggle of like having a hard time finding, the other people that just kind of like filled it all out. And so when Mayday Parade started, there was a band called Defining Moment and a band called Kid Named Chicago. And I was in Defining Moment with Brooks and Cabbage, and Jake and Jason and Alex were in Kid Named Chicago. And I just wanted to play music with those guys so bad. And one day both our bands played a show together. It was like a college show in South Georgia somewhere. I forget even, where it was. But and I wound up riding in Jake's car with him back from the show to Tallahassee. And I knew Jake, but like we hadn't spent a ton of one-on-one time together. And I decided to bring up this idea of starting a band. And I was so nervous about it. And I said, Jake, I'm going to ask you something. And he goes, I already know what you're going to ask. And the answer is yes, we should start a band. And so that night we got everyone together, pretty late at this house that we all kind of hung out at and talked over the idea of starting this band. And we all loved it, but we wanted to kind of make sure that, we weren't getting too ahead of ourselves. And so the next day, there was a rehearsal space that both bands practiced at, and we just kind of got together and started jamming. And we wrote 3 Cheers for 5 years, and that was just such, it was like a moment of like just magic, like this is kind of what we had been trying to put together for so long, where just every piece felt right. And it was kind of like hit the ground running at that point, and kind of taking all the experience that we had learned from our previous bands and even the touring that we had done in those bands, and applying that right out of the gate with Mayday Parade. And things really kind of took off, relatively quickly for us. It was, and here we are 20 years later,
That's amazing. One of my favorite things about Mayday Parade as a band is that you guys did start so early and when you were so young. So before all of that, we were curious, was there someone in your life who introduced you to music or like helped you develop your music taste? Who were you listening to early on? Because I know you mentioned that you were trying to find people with similar tastes, who, similar interests, wanting to start the band. Who started that interest for you?
Yeah. So my older brother, I'm the youngest of 3, and my oldest brother is 4 years older. And I remember very well when he kind of, got me into this world. I was probably about 8 years old. And before that, I'd listen to whatever my parents would listen to. And they liked music, but it was just kind of like whatever was on the radio, you know, and it was such a kind of secondary background ancillary thing that I didn't really think about much. There were songs that I liked and there's music that I liked, but I'd never really given much thought to it. And I had certainly never at that point, this would have been around 1994, I guess. I had never listened to, alternative rock. And my brother sat me down and showed me the song Today by Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, yeah.
And that was just opened my brain and opened this world wait, like you can like listen. I'd never even thought about like listening to a CD before, like being able to like, it was just always whatever music was there. And I was just like, okay, show me more. And, he got me really into a lot of the early 90s alternative rock, Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins and Bush and Red Hot Chili Peppers, Oasis, Alanis Morissette,
cool.
All that stuff. And I was just like enthralled with it. And, soon after started buying my own CDs and just getting into music that way. And then right around that same time or soon after, that same brother started playing guitar and started playing in a band with his friends. And I just thought that was the coolest thing and had to do that as well. So I asked for an acoustic guitar for Christmas when I was 10. And then, immediately just wanted to be in a band. And I did the classic thing and left out my middle brother, but my middle brother, Mark, he kind of was in the same boat as me, like getting into all this music at the same time. And, he got a bass guitar when I got the acoustic. And so we would kind of play. And then I have a cousin around the same age that was more like a brother. We were very close growing up. And same thing with him. So the 3 of us, my brother Mark and my cousin Travis, started playing music together and just kind of learning cover songs and messing around with writing our own songs. And we, would have said that we were in a band. We had a band, but the only really performing that we ever did, and I guess this would have been my earliest experiences performing in front of people, is we would have these get-togethers at our grandparents' house that, my aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody, it'd be about 20 people out there or whatever. And my brother and my cousin and I would always go down to the basement and it was, band practice and whatever. And and eventually we would start. They had this pool table downstairs. There was this old ratty pool table, and we would set up on the pool table like it was a stage and put chairs out in front of it, and we'd bring in all of our family and we'd play these songs for them. And so that was, I was so into it, like, at that age. And then in middle school was when I really wanted to kind of, meet other people, meet friends that played music as well. And, I had the transition into middle school was such a difficult time for me.
As it is for many.
Yeah, right. I know. And you'd think, I have two older brothers. You'd think that one of them would have warned me what was about to happen. But I don't remember any, I was just so oblivious to what in fifth grade, I was still wearing short purple shorts and a pink dinosaur shirt to school. And there was I didn't give any thought to it. There was is this cool? There was just I'd wear whatever and it didn't matter. And I had friends and people were nice to me. And then I go into sixth grade and I'm still wearing that same kind of stuff and just got demolished. And I was just...
You have no friends.
Right. Yeah. I was just such a loser. And so it was such a hard time. But I met this guy named Ben who was just a really cool kid and was really nice and had a lot of confidence. And he, just was, we became really good friends. And he played drums. And so just immediately it was all right, we're starting.
People out there.
Right. Yeah. We're starting a band. So we would go to his house or he'd come to my house and we'd play in the garage and all that. And then he, however long later, 6 months, 8 months later, introduced me to Brooks. He was like, I know this guy who plays guitar. And so Brooks started joining our practices, our jam sessions. Yeah. And I'll, sorry if I'm just going on and on here.
I love this. Yeah.
The moment that I met Brooks, that was really... one of, if not the most important, parts of I truly don't think that I would be here doing this, in 2025 if I hadn't met Brooks. Because, I've met and known so many, in Tallahassee, especially, there's been so many incredibly talented artists and musicians and people that had everything that I think it takes to make a career out of doing this, but except for the thing that Brooks really brought into it was let's do this. Let's even when we first met and he came over, it was okay, let's be proactive. Let's see if we can get booked onto school talent shows and events and play friends' birthday parties. And
he was the guy kind of pushing for the future.
Right. And I don't think I would have figured that out. And it maybe eventually, but certainly not, it was oh, okay, we can do that. That never really crossed my mind. It was just kind of I don't know. It was you learn how to play songs and then I don't know what happens next, but Brooks was the one that and then once I kind of picked up that attitude with him, then we were, together in that. And all through middle school and high school, it was, the bands that we were in, we cared about so much more than anything else. And, we would save up money in the band fund and buy recording equipment to figure out how to record demos and eventually get merch printed, t-shirts printed and play shows. And we played all the school events and talent shows and all that. And, and then high school was when I really got into the scene music. It was all the
then you're changed.
Right. That was because before that I was really into a lot of music, but it was all kind of mainstream stuff and stuff that you'd hear on the radio. And it was discovering Saves the Day and Newfound Glory and Jimmy Eat World and and around the same time, we got really into hardcore music because that was kind of, we were in 9th and 10th grade and that there were a lot of other bands that were doing that. And so we played in a couple of hardcore bands as well. And then eventually kind of found our way into Defining Moment, which was our first sort of emo kind of project, pop punk emo project. And
I will say brothers in general, I feel are really good for sharing music. I have 3 brothers. And so kind of similar. My oldest brother, John, showed me Linkin Park for the first time. And that was oh, there's something else besides the radio hits.
Yep.
And so it's sort of crazy, I feel like. I mean, I can confidently say this, but like you guys in particular were like a soundtrack summer band for me. Like there's like a distinct memory I have in the summer listening to your like just straight albums. And so knowing that there's actually like kids out there who like think of you guys as like the first bands that like kind of got them into certain like music scenes, how does that like make you feel?
It's like, it's so hard to even say, you know, to put into words, really. It's incredibly humbling, and I'm just so appreciative. And it's, you know, it's really, you know, all I wanted, again, going back to such a young age, was to be in like a real band, you know, and to kind of, you know, feel that way, or to know that, you know, there's, as you know, mentioned, those artists in high school, Newfound Glory, Taking Back Sunday, Jimmy Eat World, you know, that there are people that might, you know, view us in a similar kind of way, or we might be that band that kind of was the gateway into this world for them, or whatever it is just, it's I'm very appreciative to be here doing it still, you know.
Yeah.
We want to eventually get to the now, but our last little question for the past is, do you remember going back to that time when you guys first were like getting noticed and having fans show up? Do you remember any specific like really impactful fan interactions you had early on, or the first time you were like, oh my gosh, people know us, like we made it? Did you have a we made it moment?
Well, you know, there are probably a bunch I could say. The first one that comes to mind, and it might seem kind of, you know, less significant, I don't know, but you know, a big thing that gave us our start was following Warped Tour in 2006.
Yes.
And selling CDs outside. I mean, we weren't a part of the tour. We just kind of showed up at every date in a van and trailer, and walked around with backpacks full of CDs and sold CDs. And, you know, it's brutal work. It's hard work. And, and you're really kind of like almost begging people, like, please, like, just check out my band. Like, you know, and then, you know, just a year later in 2007, we played half of Warped Tour. And we would do signings, you know, and we were still a pretty small band, but there'd be 50 people or whatever that would, you know, show up. And I remember there was someone who came up and was like, you know, last summer you guys were like hounding me to listen to your band, and now I'm waiting in line to get your autograph, you know. And it was just like, wow, like that's crazy, and like so insane that in just a year, how much, you know. And like definitely playing Warped Tour in 2007, and then playing it in 2008, and then especially our first time playing the main stage on Warped Tour was such a huge, just, you know, coming from literally the lowest rung of the ladder of like, we're not even on the tour, we're just following it, and now we're a part of the tour and playing the main stage. Was just such an incredible moment. And, you know, there were a lot of things like that, but those are, you know, the first few that come to mind. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, to the now, to the 3 cheers for 20 years, which again, I'm wild. It's insane to say. I feel like you guys aren't doing, well, with the fact that you guys aren't doing like a album specific tour, we see a lot of those kind of coming through where people are celebrating the anniversary years. Yeah, anniversary of albums, running tours for that. You guys are doing a whole tour based on Mayday Parade. So I think it's really interesting and really cool that you guys are going to actually have a room filled of people like from all stages of Mayday Parade. So like the early ons, the newer things, and then also you have like new fans hopping in that, you know, might not remember watching Jamie all over. Right? It's just like insane. So how do you guys feel about that, knowing that you have a room full of just a variety of Mayday Parade fans?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an incredible feeling. It's wild to think about, and you know, I feel like I've been more. The whole 20-year thing kind of snuck up on us. You know, like we didn't. We weren't. It wasn't like a planned like a year or two or whatever ago that we were like, oh yeah, 20. We got to do this for, you know. It was just like, oh shit, like that's next year, you know, whatever. And so, you know, we obviously wanted to do all these things to celebrate the tour and the new like 3-part album and all that. And but it wasn't until literally probably like a week ago that a lot of this, you know, has really, I've started to feel the impact of it as much. And that's because I've been putting together the set for the tour, and all the songs and transitions and what we're going to do. And we're really trying to put a lot into just making it as special as we can. And without like giving anything away, I've been going back and I tried to find the earliest interviews I could find of the band. And so, about the earliest I could find is about 2007 or like probably Warped Tour 2007. And I just it was such kind of like a shock to me of like I'd forgotten. I don't know. I hadn't really like thought about like what we were like then, and
really humbling,
right? Yeah, like that much younger, and just I don't know how different we were, and how excited we were, and just like all these things were happening, and like just like really kind of feeling the weight of like, oh my gosh, like we've been doing this for so long, and we've done so much, and to be able to do now, this will be our biggest tour that we've ever headlined.
Does it mean a lot more? Do you think? Like, is it like a little bit like not heavier in like a bad way, but do you like, I don't know, does it weigh more than past tours?
I think so for sure, 100%. Yeah, and it's such a weird thing. It's hard to even describe, and it also is. It's I guess like nostalgia. It's like happy and sad at the same time, kind of. And what is that Casey Musgraves song where it's like there should be a word for this feeling, happy and sad at the same time. And I don't know if there is a word for that feeling, but
I read a quote recently where it's like nostalgia is just proof that you lived a good life.
Yeah, that's great. So, I love that.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of that's fitting for you guys. It's proof of a great career, and just not even in like it's ending way, but it's just like, holy shit, like you've had all of these amazing things happen along the way in a span of 20 years, and it's something worth celebrating. I think for sure.
And from just like a fan perspective, I obviously feel the same way that you do, where we'll have bands that we're a fan of, and you guys announcing a 20-year anniversary tour, album anniversaries, and it just takes you back to the time when that album came out, or when you started listening to that band, and it's so powerful. And then you feel like you just blinked, and you're like, how is that 20 years ago? How is this album so,
Surely I'm not that old.
No.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine that that's magnified like times 100 for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really is wild. And I think that I think we're also only just starting to feel, I think doing the tour, will be kind of a whole nother level of feeling the weight of that and appreciating it,
Yeah, absolutely.
3 parts.
Yes.
Why?
Well,
we're not hating it. We're not against
it. I'm so for it. But what was what's the reasoning?
Yeah.
What's the thought process? Also, this being a self-release album, I feel like you have so much freedom. Yeah. Why? What went into that decision?
Yeah. So it kind of happened, accidentally or organically or whatever you want to call it. But so we actually, last year we went into the studio. I guess it would have been kind of early last year. And the plan was to go and record half of a new album.
Okay.
Basically, this would have been our 8th full-length album, and it was to go record 7 or 8 songs or whatever, and then go in later in the year and record the rest of it and finish. So we did that, and we recorded the 8 songs or whatever it is, and but then during that process was kind of, again, when we realized like, oh yeah, like this will be coming out in 2025, which is our 20-year anniversary as a band. It was that, it also combined with coming up with the name for the release. And I don't know, I think it's like out there. I think it's like been leaked out there. So I don't know how much it matters that I say it or not, but it's
say whatever you want. That's up to you. Yep.
3-word thing starting with sweet. And so we were like, we could make this a 3-part thing where this, like what we're doing now, and instead of being, half of the album, this is part 1. and then we go and do part 2 and then part 3.
It was a creative decision.
It was a creative decision, and I think, it's too early to say, it hasn't come out yet, I don't know, but I think it makes sense. I think it's, it's us wanting to do something, bigger and more grand than we've ever done before in kind of celebration of the 20 years. And it also just feels like it's a lot of music, it's a lot of content, and it's put out over a longer period of time.
Correct.
Just kind of feels fun and ambitious, and feels like the right time to do something like that.
Yeah. The Anchorman quote, he's like, I don't know what it means, but it feels provocative.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that you guys have released 3 songs, I believe, off of Sweet so far.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 3 songs, you do get the sense of like Mayday Parade, of how I remember Mayday Parade and how I like Mayday Parade and how I know it, but also just like a more current, if that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
You still have like those instrumentals, and everything is, I don't know, it's warm and nostalgic, and that word that we don't have a word for it yet. It is all of those things.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That's sweet. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the goal and the idea. And I'm really happy and excited with it. And, we've finished recording part 2 now. I guess about 2 or 3 months ago, we wrapped that up. And and we'll go in and record part 3 sometime after this upcoming tour. And then, hopefully people dig it. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say to the fans, knowing that you are about to embark on this tour and release part 1? Is there anything that, you're kind of either hoping they get out of it or wanting to say to them?
It's tough, other than, it sounds generic, I guess, but just a huge appreciation. And, we obviously could not be here doing this without all the love and support that we've received throughout our 20 years as a band. And I just consider myself so lucky and so grateful. It's hard to imagine a better life than this. And, to still be doing it, things could have gone so many different ways. And when we started this band, I think we certainly had no expectations of being able to do this for such a long time. And so we truly appreciate it. And I think hopefully that's a big part of why we've been able to do it for so long. And with the same, all 5 of us in the band were there at that very first get together, and I think a huge part of that is because we, grew up together and love each other and love doing this and appreciate being able to do it. And so it means so much to be able to still not just be doing it, but, doing it at this level. And like I said, our biggest headline tour we've ever done, and putting out our most ambitious release to date, and all of that. Just
got a lot of things coming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's incredibly exciting.
That's awesome. We're so excited. There's so much to be excited about this year with the tour and the album, and so much to look forward to. We will definitely be at least the Texas states of the tour. So
it's a great day to be a Mayday Parade fan.
Yes, we are very excited for everything you guys have coming up. I think it's going to be such a good year for you, and we're excited to see it all.
We are.
So
I appreciate that so much.
Of course. Last question that we ask everyone, and then we will let you go. But what are you a fan of right now? Who are you listening to? What artist are you into right now?
Gosh, that's a great question.
Be better than Alex's answer. Yeah. Alex was like, I don't listen to music. We're like okay.
Yeah, it's tough. I try to get Alex into things.
He said that. He's like, whatever Derek kind of like turns on is what we listen to.
Oh, yeah, it's tough. I mean, as far as newer stuff, that's really difficult to say. You know what? There's a band out of Tallahassee called The Retrograde. That I just they played at a local bar maybe 6 months ago or however long ago that I happened to be at, and was like, I'm going to check out this band, and they blew me away. Like,
that's so cool.
Truly, it was just I'm so pumped for them. They're very much like a classic rock, like a Led Zeppelin. What's the like the Greta Van Fleet? This is more like modern.
Metal. Like yeah.
They very, but just super super talented dudes. Put on an incredible live show. seems like things are starting to build some momentum, and so I definitely have to give them some love. That's a newer, younger artist that I'm really excited about. And then, I get into all kinds of stuff that's not necessarily like, new or modern, but a lot of things that I feel like I've just like missed. Like I got pretty into the Strokes maybe a year ago, and I just that was one that I had just.
Never.
I always sort of knew of them and just never got into. And like Block Party is another one that, the last few months, they got a few songs that I just really dig and love. I really love the new Coheed and Cambria album. They did a great job with that. This has been the last probably like 3 years, but in the last like 3 years, I always liked Ben Folds growing up, but I just kind of went down the rabbit hole and got so into Ben Folds 5 and Ben Folds just solo music. And he just really inspired me to, I've always sort of played piano, but I kind of reached a point of like, okay, I can play and sing some songs. That's good enough, and so I kind of like plateaued once I was like 17 or 18 years old, and never increased my piano skill. And so about 3 years ago or when I got super into Ben Folds, I've been really trying to get better. So I practice piano every day now, and I feel like I've come a long way with my piano playing skill, and it's just so much thanks to him and Andrew McMahon as well, who we're about to go on tour with.
Yep.
Yeah, just, I don't know. There's something those guys that can just like shred piano and sing,
I love
Freddie Mercury
pulled out on stage.
Oh, yes.
I get jazzed
Gets
for
me
that.
real excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an extra element thing. And yeah, I respect it heavy for sure.
Yeah, there's something so cool about it to me. And so anyway, that's been a big one lately. I always love Third Eye Blind. Jimmy Eat World is that's kind of like my comfort band. Clarity is my favorite album. I'm at my mom's house right now. I came out to her house to take care of her animals this morning, and I was listening to Clarity on the way out here. And I don't know.
Wow. Well,
Such a better answer than Alex.
Yes. Not to shade on Alex. It was a great time. We had fun.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much for taking out, this little chunk of time of your day. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we're very excited for Mayday and everything coming up in the close future.
We can't wait to hear the album and see the tour. It's a good year to be a Mayday Parade fan.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. What'd you guys think?
Did you like it?
Tell us now. No, Maddie, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay. And so I need you guys a little behind the scenes of how our mind works and how we film these intro, outros, and really the episodes in general. We sit down with microphones.
Yeah.
And just look at each other and we're like, all right, let's talk.
Let's say some stuff.
And so we're gearing up, or we're getting ready, setting everything up. And we record our intro. And then I look at Maddie. I said, oh, I know how I'm ending this episode.
I said, all right, let's go.
She goes, oh, great. Because I have no idea what we're doing. When was the first time, or do you remember when you first listened to Mayday Parade? When did they enter into your life?
I think...
Let me remind you. Let me put some dates into your head.
Yes.
It came out summer of 2007.
Because I wasn't a fan from the start like that. It was definitely later for me. I've talked about this on podcast episodes before, but I was later to getting into the music scene than I feel like most people our age that are in that pop punk world. It was definitely high school for me, which was probably 2010, I would say, is when I got into them. But it was probably Warped Tour.
What year did you go to Warped Tour?
We had the ticket up here at one point. 2012. No, that's not true. I listened to them before that. So it was probably 2010 when I was sophomore, junior in high school, because I've also talked about this on a podcast before, but I have so much of my life now to thank a boy that I had a crush on in high school. It went absolutely nowhere. But he was really into the All Time Low, Mayday Parade, all of that. I wanted him to like me, so I started listening to it too. And then I actually became a fan, and it has snowballed tremendously, and here we are.
Thank you to all the boys we loved in high school.
Yes, who never
broke
knew.
our hearts.
I think about him once a year. I wonder where he is.
When I ask this question.
Whenever we talk about getting into music, I'm like, oh yeah, him.
Yep.
So it was definitely high school. And then when I went to Warped Tour in 2012, I think was probably when I think they were on that tour. I don't know. I saw them soon after that, if not, because they also toured with All Time Low.
Yes.
And I saw them on that tour for sure. So it kind of slowly spiraled like that. But I feel like you have a more precise answer to this. So when did you first start listening to Mayday Parade?
I'm going to date myself so hard
Do
here.
it.
Okay. I was in high school and it was summer. And I remember in particular, I was doing these I didn't play tennis in high school, but during summer they had these pre-camps for tryouts.
Okay.
And I would go to that because I just enjoyed tennis, but I didn't want to have the commitment of trying out for the tennis team.
I'm so excited to see where this ties into Mayday Parade. Continue.
As I was. And one day I was leaving the tennis camp and my nanny picked me up and I was like, can we go to Coconuts?
What is that?
Which was the music store.
Oh.
Next to the Best Buy and the Borders.
Okay.
The bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
And we went into Coconuts and I bought a physical CD. And that's also, you could go to Coconuts and pick up your physical Warped Tour tickets too and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so same place, same vibe. And so I remember I went there and they had a display of just all of the different, newer releases or whatever. And I straight up was I like that cover.
Yep. We're going to try it.
And then deep dived into just that whole, and if I remember correctly, it is a long album. And yeah, it is a long album. There are 12 songs. Yeah. But I remember.
This is A Lesson in Romantics?
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember falling asleep to the CD, being so
oh my gosh.
The line my sandcastles fall like the ashes of cigarettes and every wave drags me to sea.
Wild.
Tore my little high school heart apart. And that's...
I will say, I have such a prominent memory of screaming. I loved Black Cat.
Yep.
God, I feel old now. Obviously Jersey. But I think Black Cat was the one that me and my friend Rachel I drove her home after high school every day. We would scream the lyrics to, and she was not into my kind of music at all, but loved Mayday Parade.
Aww.
So as soon as I started playing it in the car, that's one of my most prominent memories that's attached to Mayday Parade. It always makes me think of her. And when we interviewed Alex, she was the first one to message me, and she was like, "Oh my God, they make me think of you every time." I was
love that.
So a lot of nostalgia. A lot is tied back.
Some albums that also came out that year.
Oh God.
Sorry, just to
hurt everyone's feelings.
Riot.
God, yeah.
Infinity on High. Rise or Die Trying by 4 Year Strong. Viva La Cobra. This is literally
what a year.
So Wrong It's Right.
Oh my gosh.
For Those Who Have Heart by Day to Remember.
What a year.
I love 2007. This is my love letter to 2007.
Yes.
Thank you for giving us some of the greatest albums.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was the first time I listened to Mayday Parade. And
so cool.
We did talk about this a little bit in the interview about how they feel being kind of the one band that brings a memory back for some people.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel Mayday Parade was one of those Warped Tour bands, or a band that really was on that on my iPod, in my car on heavy rotation, which is wild.
Yep.
I didn't tell Derek that I did illegally download it first.
Well, we interviewed Alex first, so he's the one that got that story out of us.
Yeah. Because I will say, before buying the physical CD, I would rip things on LimeWire to see if those were the first pulls of the song. And then I actually bought the CD.
Yes.
So
we just had to test drive it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't get the album artwork. It was a huge thing.
Yeah. Man. But it was a fun time getting to talk to Derek about and kind of reminisce on all of this and 20 years ago, their start, how they got started. Because they were, I say this in the interview too, it blows my mind that they kind of started getting their feet wet with like starting a band and all of that in middle school.
I know.
That's so crazy.
Where were you doing in middle school?
Not that.
Not something that can withstand 20 years.
Not setting up my career. So I just loved getting to talk about 20 years ago. And then obviously fast forward to now, how they've, sustained such like become such a legacy band in the pop punk scene, sustained a crazy fan base.
And like newer fans too.
And newer fans. Yeah. And now we've got an exciting year ahead of new albums.
You guys have to go to this tour.
And the tour is going to be insane.
The tour is going to be so insane. It kicks off in May.
Yep. We
Does
are
it start first date? I feel like, or something.
Let's check.
Hold on.
I know we're early on because I think we're like May 1st.
Yeah.
In Dallas. If you're going to the Dallas show, we will be there. We might go to Houston as well. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what we're feeling.
We'll see how.
No, it kicks off in Florida. Oh my gosh, April 22nd.
Okay. Oh my gosh, so soon.
Wow.
So soon.
It is a long tour. It goes from April to June.
Yeah.
Good for them, man.
So you have no excuse.
You really have no excuse. Go to the tour. Mm-hmm. Have a good time. Scream. We didn't get the whole set list, but we do know some things that are going to happen, and you guys are not going to want to miss it.
Nope.
It's like their Eras tour.
It really is.
Did he say that? I feel like somebody said that.
Someone. It's very relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he did say that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a good time. If you're going to the Dallas show, let us know.
Yeah, make sure to say hi. Yes. We're going to be there.
Interviewing fans as we always are.
Grayscale's also going to be there. It's a good lineup.
It's a great lineup. And it's going to be such a fun show. Such a good year to be a Mayday Parade fan, man.
It is such a good year to be a Mayday Parade fan. We're excited. We have a huge love for the guys, and just like as like a fan too, so much respect for them. And so we thank Derek so much for giving us a little sliver of his day and hanging out with us. And
we hope you enjoyed the episode and are as excited as we are for Sweet to come out this week.
Yes.
And to catch them on tour.
Yeah. They're coming to all the cities.
So you have to go.
You
no
have
excuses.
To. Yep. As always, make sure you like this episode. I don't know, whatever you have to do to get podcasts notoriety.
Rate the show, rate the episode. It helps us get found. I hate asking for that at the end of the episodes always, but it really, really does help.
Yeah.
Follow along. We're on all of the platforms, Beyond the Barricade. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Subscribe so you get notifications whenever we have new episodes out. Because you would hate to miss this.
Who would want to miss this?
Our constant ramblings.
I love it. I live for it.
Yeah. And if you're, like I said, if you're going to be at the Dallas show, let us know. We'll be out there saying hi to all the fans.
Run up to us and scream our names and we'll respond accordingly.
We love when that happens always.
It does. People we were shooting a show. This is so off topic. We were shooting a show last week, and somebody DM'd us and was like, "Are you here?"
Yes.
And we're like, "Yes." And then they ran
They were in line.
Yeah.
For
and it was
like
such a good time. For a different show that we were shooting.
Correct. It was at House of Blues. There were 2 shows happening. They were at the other one. So
we love House of Blues.
But we love seeing you guys out. Yeah. Saying hi, saying what's up, interviewing you, probably harass you with the camera. That's what we do.
It's not harassment if you agree to.
As long as we have consent.
Okay. We love you guys. Thank you so much for this episode, for listening.
We'll see you next time.
Hayden, chop that up. Make it work.
Bye.
Bye.